Hello, intro students. We're going to take a look at 3-4, which is slope-intercept form of an equation. And an interception in football, so most of you are familiar with, is when a defensive player catches a pass made by the offensive player. So the ball is going across and somebody kind of interrupts it. And that word is going to kind of mean the same thing about a line where it crosses something in algebra. So in a non-proportional linear relationship, so a line that doesn't go through the origin, the graph passes through the point 0b or the y-intercept. So the y-intercept of a line is the y-coordinate of the point where the line crosses the y-axis. So you've got your x and y axis and any kind of line that could go across, and the idea would be, okay, there's the y-intercept. It's where that line crosses the y-axis. We've already gone over the fact that in a proportional relationship, the equation is y equals mx. For a non-proportional relationship, the equation is y equals mx plus b. So the m is the same thing as it's been. It's your slope or rate of change. Your y is your output. X is your input, as always. And then the new part, this is your y-intercept, or where the line crosses the y-axis. And that is at the point 0 in your x, because it's not going across, because it's right on that center of the x-axis. And then whatever that b value is where the line crosses the y-axis. So we take a look at example 1, where we are asked to state the slope and the y-intercept in the graph of the equation. So again, that's just really looking at the numbers in the right spot. So if we know that slope is in the m spot in y equals mx plus b, then that tells us to look here, okay, the slope in this equation must be that value, and so the slope is 3/4, which indicate, no, and so the slope should be 2/3, and then we're looking at the y-intercept, and we know that the y-intercept is your b value, and so the y-intercept should be 0, -4. And again, we're getting that negative because it's plus b, but we have a minus there that tells us the point is negative. So continuing practice here at the got it's. Again, the idea is you're thinking of the equation is in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, where m is your slope and b is your y-intercept. So we're determining the slope and the y-intercept for each equation. In equation A, the slope is this first value here of -5, so that would be -5 or -5/1, indicating down 5 over 1. The y-intercept, right there at +3, indicating the point 0, 3. Put in your answers into Edpuzzle for B and C. So for B, for your slope, I hope that you got 1/4, and for your y-intercept, you should have gotten 0, -6. And for C, The slope, this one's a little bit different here, should be -1 or -1/1. Always can insert that coefficient of 1. Don't forget things from your equation solving. And your y-intercept is 0, 5. So another skill we want to be able to do is to take, when we're given some of that information, when we find slope intercept information, we want to be able to insert it into the equation. So if we're asked to write an equation in slope intercept form, then we're thinking about y equals mx plus b, that's slope intercept form. And we're going to take that slope of -3 and put it in for slope. And we take the y-intercept of -4 and put that in for b. And so we're writing that equation. We can also write the equation based on the graph that we have, just putting kind of together everything we know. So if we're writing an equation in slope-intercept form, again, that's talking about or causing us to think y equals mx plus b, that's slope-intercept form. Now that means we need to find the slope value for m and we need to find the y-intercept value for b. And I think it's easiest probably to find the y-intercept value first, just because that's where the line crosses the y-axis. And so I'm looking at that and I want to determine the ordered pair. And the ordered pair for that spot is 0 across 0, and you're looking at that we went up 1, 2, 3, 4, so that's at 0, 4. And so I can take that and plug that in as +4, and now I just need to determine the slope, and the slope is highlighted for us here. So that's nice. Now it won't always be. Sometimes we're going to have to determine that ourselves. But you're looking at what's the rise. That's 1 over the run, 1, 2. And so your slope is 1/2. And then we write the rest of the equation. I'd like you to try and model that for D and E and the Gaudets and enter your answers onto the Ed puzzle. Now for D, you're looking at again, writing an equation in slope-intercept form, so that's y equals mx plus b. And we're looking at this line. So we're looking at the y-intercept. The y-intercept is your b value, and that is at 0, -2. And so we're going to plug that in for the b value. And that would be a -2. And then we want to look at the slope, and the slope of this line is going up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and over 1, 2, 3. So that's 5/3. So we have y is equal to 5/3 x minus 2 as d. Now for E, you're just giving the information in words. So we have y equals mx plus b as soon as they ask for slope-intercept form. And they tell you that the slope is 3/4, so you're going to plug that in for m. And they tell you that the y-intercept is -3, so you want to plug that in for b. For number 4, we're looking at the same idea, we're just putting it into a story. And we have student council selling t-shirts during Spirit Week. It costs $20 for the design and $5 to print each shirt. So the cost y to print X t-shirts is given, and so they're giving us the equation for this. All right, and then we'll look at how that applies to things. So they're giving us the equation, and they're telling us that what X and Y are. X is the number of t-shirts. And Y is the cost. and that cost is $5, so I'm just going to count by fives here. You really can count by whatever you want, as long as it's consistent. And then I'm looking at that equation, and so in that equation, my y-intercept is 20, so that means the ordered pair 0, 20. And so I'm going to go to 0, 20 and put a dot. That's my y-intercept where that line crosses the y-axis. And the slope is 5. And so that's telling me that the slope is 5 over 1, 5 up over 1. And so when I look for that slope, we'll look for the next points. I'm going to go up 5, that's just one block based on my square, over 1, up 5, over 1, up 5, over 1. And each time I do that, that creates another point on the line, and so my line following that slope looks like that. Now looking at number 5, that interpreting, I'd just like you to mark down that and take a look at, with regard to the graph that we just did, is that your y-intercept is your starting point. So in a story, that y-intercept is quite often your starting point or your beginning value. And then the slope is your rate. Okay, so slope is your rate, or in a story it is often just listed as the multiplier.